Hello YouTube, it's JMac from JMax Bricks, and today I have a special video. This is part 1 of my All You Need to Know About 4.5 Volt Lego series. So, in this series, I'm basically going to be compiling everything I know about Lego 4.5 volt stuff. This stuff was made back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s, first introduced to us in 1966. However, since it's so old, many people don't know how to use it, including myself, until just recently. So since I've learned so much about it, I'd like to share the information. Today's video is about trains and how to use them. Let's get started. So this here is my custom 4.5 volt train, which will get its own mock video in the near future. Let's start by taking a look at the motor, which I have removed from the train. It is basically just a one-piece setup plus the wheels, but it just looks like this. Don't fear if yours isn't yellow. This yellow motor was only produced in 3 sets, all of which were universal building sets, like for construction things. Anyways, the majority of them were black. All the train sets had black motors, except for a few of the older ones, which may have contained a blue motor. Also, some of the 4.5 volt motors are taller than this. I'm not sure about those. I don't really know much about them. They may be the same, but I'm not sure. I know they use the same contacts, but I'm not sure about the rest. Anyways, looking at the contacts, your motor may have different contacts depending on its age. If it was an older one, the contacts will look like just 2 circles instead of like this. And if yours is a little bit newer, this little strip that's between the contacts of plastic would be missing. In order to identify this as a 4.5 volt motor, we have to look at that little, through that hole you can see it says 4V. That tells us that it's 4.5 volt. Now, even though it says 4V, it's really 4.5. It's just they don't have enough room to write 4.5V in that tiny block. Alright, now I'm going to open up the motor so you can see inside and know what to look for. Alright, I just unscrewed these screws, which allows me to take this top piece off and see the actual interior of the motor. So, the most important part that characterizes this as a 4.5 volt motor is the actual motor. This here is basically just a gearbox. But this here is the physical 4.5 volt motor. As you can see, mine is really clean and in excellent shape. On here is a sticker, and you saw 4V. So when you're looking through that little hole, you're actually seeing the sticker on the motor. So otherwise in there it's just a gearbox. If yours were to break, it's easy to replace. Just go on Bricklink and find the undercarriage separately. Before we move on in this tutorial, I'd like to point out just a couple of things about the motor and how to use it. So I've attached these train wheels to it, and as you can see it has these rubber bands. This is the black one. This was made in the 70s only. In the 60s and 80s, however, they made these gray ones. So these wheels, if you're wondering, can be removed. However, it is very, very difficult to do so, and I've actually found it easiest to pry them off with a screwdriver. Otherwise, I had no luck. But then again, I'm a very weak person, so it could be just me. Those rubber bands on the wheels are crucial for traction. Now that we've covered the information about the motor, you might be wondering, how do I run it? Well, this was not an electric system like 9V or 12V, it is battery operated. So, it has a battery wagon. And that is what this here is. So this was made in a couple different colors. Aside from blue, it was also made in red and black, and some of the newer versions will have a different setup of couplers, but that doesn't matter very much. This battery car, it's very large, and it has this roof. This roof just pops off. It is sold as a separate piece on Bricklink with most listings. This is where the batteries are held. As you can see, the compartments are very large, and they are the precise size to hold 3 of these C-sized batteries. If you notice right here, it has helpful diagrams to show you how to put in the batteries, which I am now doing. With batteries inside, we have to put the battery car roof on. However, it is crucial that we put it on the right way. You see these 2 contacts here. You have to make sure that those 2 contacts that I pointed out are over top these 2. So that's how it works. On the side of the battery car, we have this switch. This determines the direction of the train. This way would be forward. All the way back reverses the polarity, makes it backwards, and the middle is stop. Note to buyers, some sellers will list this and say that this is missing. Don't ever buy that, because that won't work. And this one might be missing too, or it might be bent. If it's bent, don't worry, it can be fixed. But if this is missing, it doesn't work. Now, probably the most crucial thing I'm going to say in this entire video. Do not leave the batteries inside of this. Unlike our modern battery boxes, this battery box doesn't really have an off button, so that means that the batteries will corrode very quickly. So when you're done using your battery box, take them out. Now, we have a motor and a battery box. So how are we going to get the power from here to the motor? As you can imagine, there'd be a wire. You see there are contacts right here on the front of the battery box. That is the direction that will face towards the front with the blue magnet. Some of the battery boxes don't have a blue magnet. Those would be from the 80s. Those would have a different type, but it's the same thing. So, here is one of the versions of the wires that you may have. This is the 70s version. This is a different version of the same thing, except the connectors can be separated to adapt to different sizes. There are a couple other different versions. So, it's very simple to plug in. You just stick those in there, and then attach this one, the other end, to any contact point on your motor. And voila, it should work. Before I wrap up this video, I'd just like to say that this stuff is not that desirable on the market. Despite it being really cool, it's not like the 12V. It doesn't have a lot of the functionality. It doesn't have speed control, it just has one speed. So that makes it very, very cheap. You could buy this motor for about $3 US, these wires for less than $3 US, and this battery wagon for $10, maybe $15, and then the roof for another $3. So you could probably run a 4.5 volt train for less than a power function train. Anyways, that's it. Don't forget to buy the rubber bands for traction and all of the parts I've mentioned in this video. If you have any questions about LEGO 4.5 volt, please leave them in the comments below. And of course, let me know if this video was helpful. Thank you for watching this Max Bricks video. If you like this one, I think you'll like some of my others. I recommend my trains playlist where you can see my other train related videos, my middle and high school mock, my warehouse mock, and this recent video. And of course, please like, comment, and subscribe to Max Bricks as I always appreciate new support.